So over at Fox News, they have made it clear that if you make any joke about Charlie Kirk whatsoever on social media, or you make light of his death, or you laugh at it, or you celebrate, they will make sure that you get doxxed. They'll make sure that your employer finds out about it and you get fired from your job. And there are people all over social media saying, if you make one joke about Charlie or say one ill word about him, we're going to make sure that you're doxxed. We're going to make sure that everybody knows where you are, and we're going to make sure you lose your job. So you can't make fun of Charlie in no way. But if you suggest that the homeless be gave forced lethal injection, you can be a host on Fox News. Take a look.
Billions of dollars to mental health and the homeless population. A lot of them don't want to take the programs. A lot of them don't want to get the help that is necessary. You can't give them a choice. Either you take the resources that we're going to give you, or you decide that you're going to be locked up in jail. That's the way it has to be now.
Or involuntary lethal injection or something. Just kill them.
Yeah, Brian, why did it have to get to this point?
Right. I would say this. We're not voting for the right people. In North Carolina, wake up.
So right before I sat down to do this video, I learned that he did walk it back and apologize, and I want y'all to watch his apology and tell me if you think he was sincere.
We were discussing the murder of Irina Zaruska in Charlotte, North Carolina, and how to stop these kinds of attacks by homeless, mentally ill assailants, including institutionalizing or jailing such people so they cannot attack again. Now, during that discussion, I wrongly said they should get lethal injections. I apologize for that extremely callous remark. I'm obviously aware that not all mentally ill homeless people act as the perpetrator did in North Carolina, and that so many homeless people deserve our empathy and compassion.
Now, I don't know how y'all feel about it, but in my mind, it's too little too late. You say something like that, there's no walking it back. There's no putting the toothpaste back in the tube. You said it, and you also said it on Fox News, a station that right now is fanning the flames as hard as they possibly can, a channel that is calling for war against the left, a channel that will not hear us out or hear one word we have to say and just continues to drive the division and shape the narrative. No matter what evidence comes out one way or the other, they're going to shape the narrative the way they want to. And so at a time like this, when the nation is absolutely in one of the worst political climates ever, someone says that out loud. And the thing is, he's a white guy, so he can apologize for that, and forgiveness will be given to him by the right. But we all know good and well that if it was anyone else on our side that made a comment like that, they would have lost their job. There was a dude at MSNBC that lost his job because he just told the truth about Charlie Kirk. So they want you to lose your job if you speak ill of Charlie Kirk, but you can speak ill of homeless people, and you can speak ill of the mentally ill, and you can suggest that they be put down, and then you can just walk it back and apologize, and you'll continue to be a host, and people will continue on Fox News anyway to take you seriously. Now, they get really mad when we compare them to Nazis, and they say that's part of the problem. They say we shouldn't do that. Well, what I say is stop acting like them, and we'll stop doing that. It's just that simple to me. In 1933, the Nazis launched a campaign to round up the beggars and the homeless. They made them wear black triangles. And this group included beggars, alcoholics, drug addicts, prostitutes, and pacifists. Those are people who believed that the war was unjustified. So these people were taken to concentration camps where they were forced to wear those black triangles, and they were either killed or worked to death. That was a policy put in place in 1933 in Germany. And if you go back to Lawrence Jones, the guy that was sitting beside Brian Kilmeade, really a lot of people are focusing on what Brian Kilmeade said, and rightfully so. I mean, once you say that, you've stole the show. But I'm not going to let Lawrence Jones off the hook for the shit he was saying, for the heartless approach that he was taking to the homeless. You're going to take what we say. You're going to do what we say. If you won't take it, then we're going to have to be dealt with. He's quoting 1933 Germany. That's what he was doing. And this is coming from the same people, by the way, who are sharing pictures of Charlie Kirk next to Jesus Christ and putting Bible verses next to it and saying that they are the Christians in the story. And I don't think that half of them has ever read a Bible. I really don't. I know that I've studied it since I was a kid, and I'm still doing it to this day. And I really don't think that the average Joe that watches Fox News, and even the average Joe that goes to church every Sunday, I don't think they've ever actually opened up the book and read it. They just sit there and listen to the hate that was spewing out of their minister's mouth. Because if they ever read the Bible, they would understand that Jesus was all about feeding the homeless and feeding the hungry and giving the thirsty something to drink and clothing the naked and welcoming the strangers. There are so many Bible verses of Jesus being compassionate to the downtrodden, but you won't find any compassion from MAGA on that. Their ideology does not align with Jesus Christ in no way, but somehow or another they hijacked it. They hijacked it and made it their own, made it this identity, and they compared the two. But the only thing that Charlie Kirk has in common with Jesus Christ is that Christians get mad if you quote him to them. That's all the two have in common at all. You want to make a Christian mad, quote Charlie Kirk. They'll get mad about it. They'll say, no, that ain't what he said. He didn't mean it. The same old stuff they say with Trump. If you quote Jesus Christ to them, they'll get mad too, because they don't realize what the words in red actually said. And if Jesus Christ was to come along today and say, hey, we need to feed the hungry, we need to clothe the naked, we need to give the thirsty something to drink, we need to welcome people in, we don't need to pass judgment on people. You know, there's a story about when Jesus forgave the prostitute. And the Bible says that he's sitting there and he's drawing in the sand with his finger when this is happening. And these guys, they bring a woman who was caught in the act of adultery. She was caught in the act. They bring her to Jesus and they say, hey, the scripture says that we should stone her to death. What do you say? And Jesus says, well, I say, he among you who is without sin, let him cast the first stone. Well, back then, people had a little bit of decency, and they realized that they couldn't cast a stone because they realized that they weren't without sin, so they pretty much just left the woman there with Jesus. And he turned to her and he said, now, where are your accusers? And she said, they're not here. He said, is there anyone here now that condemns you? And she said, no. And he said, then neither do I condemn you. Today in this world, it wouldn't have mattered what Jesus would have said to those men. They'd have stoned her anyway. These people have hijacked the words of one of the most peaceful, loving people that ever came along. A person who really did go to his grave for his beliefs, for his opinions. A man who went to his death for preaching peace, preaching love, and preaching forgiveness, and preaching acceptance. I'm not going to sit back on the ropes and let people compare Charlie Kirk to Jesus Christ. And I'm agnostic, but I'm not going to do that. I'm just not. Because it's just not fair to Jesus Christ to let people do that. And Fox News is on in every place of business I go where I live. I can't go anywhere that I don't see that on the TV. And everybody's sitting there looking at it and everybody taking it seriously. And then I've seen so many people, oh, the churches will be filled up this Sunday. We'll all be there for Charlie. Did they ever really listen to Charlie? I sometimes wonder. Because I saw one person say, I didn't listen to the man all the time, but I had respect for him. I don't say that about people. If I don't listen to somebody all the time and I don't know what they're about, I don't know the guy's name. Like I said, there's never a script in front of me. I'm flying off the seat of my pants. But there was a video that a listener shared with me of a dude. He's bald and got like a salt and pepper beard. I thought he gave Shahid Bolzan, maybe. That might be it. Now I forgot where I was actually going with that one. Again, there's no script in front of me. But he was talking. That's one of the best rebuttals that I've ever seen to Charlie Kirk. If you can find that dude and you know who I'm talking about, that was one of the best rebuttals that I ever seen. But he was talking about what Charlie Kirk stood for and what he said. And my question is, did you all actually listen to what he had to say? Oh, I know where I was going with that. Here we go. So I know where I was going with that. Now, I haven't said that I respect that dude that said that about Charlie Kirk. I mean, I liked what he said about Charlie Kirk, but I haven't said, oh, I respect that man, and oh, I love that man, and oh, he's the greatest thing since sliced bread. I've not said that because I don't know anything else about him. That's the first time he ever came across my feed. That's the first time I've ever seen him. I agree with what he said on that issue, but I have no clue in hell what he said on other things. So I'm not going to sit here and go, oh, I respect that dude. I don't know the dude. But based on his response to Charlie Kirk's passing, I think he would respect me saying that. I think he would respect me saying, you know what, I'm not just going to blindly follow you because I heard you say one thing that I appreciated. So when people says, well, I didn't listen to him all the time, but I had respect for him, that's ridiculous. Why would you respect someone that you ain't listened to? Did you really listen to him? Now, I don't debate people. I'm not a debater. I'm someone who reacts to the news. That's how I look at this channel. I'm a person that's sitting here just watching the world go by, and I'm reacting to it, and I'm saying, hey, that don't look right to me, or that looks crazy to me, or this looks this way to me. I'm just a person reacting to the news. I don't sit across the table and debate, and I sure as hell ain't ever going to go on Jubilee, so don't ever hold your breath looking for me to sit there and let 20 idiots pull up a chair in front of me and scream in my face. That's just not me. If y'all want to do it, I'm not saying you shouldn't. You go for it, do whatever you want to do, but that's just not Brando. But, you know, I would be more than happy to pull up a chair and say to a Charlie Kirk supporter, hey, bring his quotes. Bring his quotes. Bring a list of Charlie Kirk quotes, and I'll bring a list of Jesus Christ quotes. Now, we can't say nothing else, okay? You can't sit there and say, oh, he didn't mean it, oh, this and that. No, we'll just play tit for tat here. And you quote Charlie, and I'll quote Jesus. And you say that when you get on a plane and you see a black pilot, you get nervous. And then I'll say, judge not that you be not judged. And then you say that black women lack the brain capacity to do a white man's job. And then I will come back with a quote of Jesus. You say the line about empathy's a bad word and it don't have no place in this day and age. And I'll say, blessed are they who mourn, for they shall be comforted. We'll just sit and go back and forth, and we'll see if the two have anything in common. Because again, the only thing they have in common is Christians get mad when you point this out. Yeah, folks, unfortunately, we're going to be talking about this for a long time. And unfortunately, the people over at Fox News are never going to dial it back, because I have figured it out, actually a long time ago. But if I didn't know before, I definitely know now, that Fox News is always going to put the hammer down on the violence and the rhetoric and the hate-filled rhetoric. And MAGA does not want Trump light. So J.D. Vance, if he's the next in line, he's not going to be able to go back to doing that old school Republican shtick. He's not going to be able to be a Paul Ryan or a Mitt Romney or a Liz Cheney. He ain't going to be able to go back to that. The only way you keep this base happy is you just keep threatening people. You just keep putting the hammer down on the violence. You just keep mocking and making fun of people, and then say, oh, if you mock or make fun of Charlie, you're fired. That's what you have to do. So Charlie Kirk actually would have been a great candidate for MAGA, because he's even more over the top than Trump. Trump's an agitator, don't get me wrong. Trump knows how to piss people off better than anybody. But Trump says stuff like, you're a low IQ person. Charlie said, you lack the brain capacity to do a white man's job. So when I see people cheering on Charlie Kirk, I realize that the only person that's ever going to be able to pick up the Trump mantle and follow it is someone even worse than Trump. They'll never want to go back to being decent at all, because they have no decency. And I'm not going to apologize for sitting here and saying that the MAGA cult has zero decency. They don't have any. There has never been a bigger group of hypocrites. There has never been a bigger group of just brainwashed fucking idiots in this world. But they have power. And the rich people that are manipulating them realizes just how easily they are to manipulate. So Elon Musk is fanning the flame, saying, kill or be killed. And Elon knows these stupid people will get right behind that. And as long as they make them feel powerful, they've got them right where they want them. But I don't know. I'm over here with a group of people who wants to see the homeless taken care of. I want to see the homeless. I view the homeless as victims of our society. And I want to see them have a roof over their head. And I want to see them get help with their mental illness. And if that makes me the radical left, call me that all day. If that makes me woke, I'm wide awake.